Hello, everyone, and welcome. Today we are recording a special podcast featuring Matej Lancaric, myself, Joseph Kim, and Summer Liu from mobile gaming data analysis firm Socialpedia. We have another collab between me and Matej. Matej, we've been
Yes,
doing a lot together, so that's awesome.
very true.
And we are here to discuss a very controversial topic. Is the game Monopoly Go profitable or not? Today's episode is sponsored by Data.ai. To access estimates for rankings, downloads, revenue, usage, or engagement for millions of apps on the App Store and Google Play, sign up for Data.ai. There's been a lot of drama, which we'll jump into in the industry. I know, Matej, you've been at the center of this,
Very true.
this hurricane, whirlwind,
Yeah.
whatever's going on. But before we proceed, I just want to make it clear to our audience, to the games industry, we aren't here to cast stones at anyone. We're not here to disparage Scopely or Monopoly Go. No one is arguing that this is not a game that it's achieved a lot. Nobody's disputing that. And I know Matej and I'm sure Summer, we're all big fans of anyone achieving success in the games industry. So let's just be clear on that. One big reason, however, that I want to jump in and discuss this topic, partially because I think there needs to be a bigger discussion around nuance in the games industry. And there's just so much conflation of a bunch of different issues. And so I felt like a more nuanced discussion was necessary. And so to discuss this topic with Matej, and we also have Summer here to get not only our thoughts and experiences, but also external data points and to see what Monopoly Go has been doing from a marketing perspective. We're going to be able to share with you guys in terms of some videos and some screenshots in terms of what they're doing. We're going to jump into that. But I think the big issue, however, and a lot of the confusion and all the high emotion and heartache is coming from is the basic definition of the word profitability. And the problem is that as an industry, we don't have like a clearly articulated or widely accepted industry standard definition of what we mean by a game being profitable. But we're going to jump into that. So just to set the stage for our discussion today, first, backstory. We're going to give everyone an overview of the article and post from Matej, the ensuing post, and the kerfuffle that ensued and attacks on Matej. Since that second, the aftermath of this, I'd love to hear from you, Matej, some of the blowback that you've gotten, people coming after you. I've seen some of the attacks. I'm just like, man. Anyway, we'll do that. Third, we'll talk about data, some of the data points from Data.ai. I think, Matej, you've got some data points from Sensor Towers. Summer, you've got data points from Socialpedia. Fourth, marketing analysis. This is where Summer's going to come in and show us exactly some of the stuff that Monopoly Go is doing from a UA, creatives, and ad perspective. Fifth, we'll go into a discussion about profitability and some of the nuance that so many of you guys in the industry are missing, especially you Scopely PMs. Jesus, guys, learn something. Learn about some basic economics, guys. And then finally, our takes. So what do we think? Is this game profitable or not? How would we define that sort of thing? So we're going to get into it, but just to kick it off, I want to kick it over to you, Matej. Let's go back to the backstory. Can you take us through this origin story and everything that happened?
Yeah, because I was so we recorded a podcast about Monopoly Go when it launched on our podcast 2.5 Gamers with Jakub and Felix. And I mean, honestly, like it was an amazing launch. We went through all the UA stuff, all the creatives, all the game design, and ad monetization. There was no ads basically at the time, but now they added 2 placements, so there is some ad monetization and ad revenue coming. So we were talking with afterwards with Neil from mobilegamer.biz about like what do I think about like how much money they spend and all of this. So I was running through some some of my estimations based on the Sensor Tower data and mobile action and all of like then data AI as well. So like all the external tools. So I don't have the visibility on the CPIs or how much money they spend. So this was just an estimation. And oh boy, that estimation drove a lot of people crazy. A lot of people crazy, but like here are like the initial thoughts. So I ran like few social casino games before, and if I'm being honest, like what I've seen in terms of the CPIs were just like anything between $20 to $40 in US on like purchase oriented campaigns. Why I'm saying purchase oriented campaigns, because if you target purchases, the CPIs are going to be higher. Also, what you need to think about is the level of scale they are kind of having. So they are adding 400,000 installs per day, which of those 400,000 installs, like 170,000 is from US only. And US is the most expensive country, period. That's how it is, full stop. And if you spend more money, the CPIs are going to go high. Obviously, if you spend a few $100s per day, the CPIs can be anything between $1 to $5. If you spend hundreds of thousands per day, it's not going to be 10, it's not going to be 20, it can be 30, 40, 50. But originally, I thought the game has like $30 to $40 CPIs in US. But then what happened was like there was there was this rumor that they're spending $2.5 million per day since the global launch. And then like there was also rumor that they're spending 1 million a day. So nobody knows. But then we had this like, nobody knows. Yeah, of course, like somebody knows Scopely, obviously. Then we had this like our own 2.5 gamers yacht party in Busan, South Korea with our friends from Load Complete. And then there were some developers, which actually, Joseph, from China, which are super successful with their Forex game at the moment. And we were discussing this with their CMO, like the CPIs could be somewhere around $15 to $20 from what they heard, and kind of like, well, I'm pretty sure that they are very close. They're way closer to the like actual numbers than I am because of different sources. But anyway, and also because of the Monopoly Go IP. So let's assume like they are seeing like $20 CPI in US. Still quite skeptical about this. They're like, this power of the IP can be that that's strong, but let's go with that. Then I was kind of assuming that the tier 1 countries like Germany, UK, Canada, Australia, those countries can have $10 CPIs, and then rest of the world we see like anything between 3 to 5. So as I said, like overall traffic from US is 30%, then 15% goes to tier 1 markets, and then the rest of the world is just 55%. So, if we take this, what I mentioned, like 150K thousand installs per day in US, it can be anything between 2 to 3 million a day based on the CPIs I mentioned. And then it can be an additional like 500,000 to 600,000 per day spent in tier 1. And then there's like a range of 500,000 to 1 million a day for the rest of the world kind of countries, and that still feels like very low and conservative estimate. I was looking into like the total downloads, which is like 100 million downloads since the global launch. I mean, wow, that's amazing. So kudos to the whole UA and marketing team. This is amazing. Like no doubt about it. There's the like, total revenue, which is in Sensor Tower kind of close to like 900 million. So it's almost like $1 billion. So there was always like these articles that they already achieved $1 billion in revenues. So different tools, different numbers. So I guess only around there.
So a couple of things, Matej, and this is for our audience, because I think this, especially you Scopely PMs, pay attention, learn some shit. So one is like, as Matej suggested, CPI is highly dependent on scale. So if you were to think of like x-axis being volume, or like just think about it as installs per day or dollars spent per day, and the y-axis being CPI, it's not flat.
Yeah,
it goes up, and it can go up significantly, especially as you start running out of inventory, especially in a bid-based user acquisition system. So that's one. The second thing is, as Matej mentioned, a lot of the volume for user acquisition here is the US, right? And so if you look at, look at your data sources, right? Look at the geos. In US is
75% revenue is coming from US.
Exactly, right? And so you're doing so much spend in the US, so your CPIs are going to be higher. Now, word on the street, since we are kind of pretty well connected in the industry, there's a lot of different people are saying a lot of different things about this game. I have heard word on the street, again, these are rumors, that Monopoly is only spending 25% of net rev on UA. I find that a little bit hard to believe, but that's something that somebody has said.
Yeah.
But then you also see, and what others have suggested, and based upon the data that you look at, that during a time that as much as 90% of the installs were paid, I think if you look at various data services, you'll see that closer to like 60% now. And when people talk about CPI, you have to understand there's always this context, whether it's profitability or other things that you're discussing, in terms of when somebody says CPI, well, then what do you mean? Do you mean worldwide blended? Do you mean US? Do you mean India? And so again, and the
you
thing
mean
that
for
really
few $100s per day, or you mean for a few millions per day?
Yeah, exactly. And so the thing that's really frustrating to me, and the reason why I wanted to have this discussion, is that there does seem to be so much confusion, conflation, just like,
there's so many holes in this story. Like it's something it doesn't add up. That's the thing.
There's that too, and I totally agree with you on that. But there's also like this stupidity around arguing apples and oranges, right? It's just like, okay, we'll get into that anyway. So aftermath. So I saw some of the blowback on you, Matej, but you want to tell us like some of the stuff that's happened since then?
I mean, it's quite fun thing I think happened like on LinkedIn, where like Scopely employees started commenting these LinkedIn posts, and then suddenly like these comments were deleted out of nowhere. And I think honestly, it wasn't meant to be controversial. I was like, it seems a little bit fishy when everybody's like saying like this is profitable, Scopely won't be unprofitable. Oh well, I work there, and we were buying profitably. It's like, okay. Then there's like one other podcast mentioned my name, something about like this being out of my league. It's like, okay, well, I didn't even listen to that episode yet, but it was brought to my attention. So that was mentioned. Like, as usual, when I say something controversial, people talk about that a little bit. But like this, like, well, I worked there, and this, we were buying profitably. It reminds me one story from like one of my former like workplaces where I worked, and there were like non-UA people told me after I left the company, it's like, oh, well, like everything looks amazing. We just had like all hands meeting, like, well, like all the numbers are looking great. Like we were growing. Like, okay, well, I opened up like the UA dashboards because I still have the accesses, and everything looked like shit, absolutely terrible. I was like, okay, well, it's you don't always believe like things being said on the all hands meeting, like in front of the whole company, if you don't see under the hood. So it's after that article, like a lot of people from Scopely actually viewed my LinkedIn post, but nobody said anything to my face or in like directly in the messages. Like always, like, I heard these guys are talking about what you said, and it's like, okay, well, what can I do? But then I had this another discussion with the former employee of Scopely. She or he said that, and like all the alarm bells must have been ringing like in the Scopely office because of what you said. It's just like it's like, man, you can't even imagine, like they they really should be like most probably like panicking the office upside down when they read the article, because I mean, well, they released the statement after the article as well, so it's definitely PR thing going on. So yeah, well, a lot of fun, but nothing that I'm not used to actually, because
I heard, or somebody had mentioned that there was an all hands to address you one day or something. But anyway, well, let's talk about the data, and let's also just to look, let's give Scopely their due. Like, I don't know the Scopely of today, but back when Jory was running Scopely, like I had a lot of respect for the PM organization at Scopely, and for the PMs that I met were all like very, very professional, very sophisticated. I'm not sure what happens today. I'm not sure what's going on over there now, but like back then, under the Jory era, they were they were a very, very good organization. But anyway, let's also give the game its due. Based upon
it's
data.
amazing game. Like it's getting like 100 million revenue per month. Give or take.
I would say amazing from a top line perspective.
Yes,
you know?
yeah, and it's a very well made game. I mean, it's really polished and like definitely different level than Coin Master nowadays. So yeah,
is it? Not when I played, but yeah, maybe it is now. Maybe I've seen a bunch of stuff on LinkedIn, like master class and this master. You know, it's amazing how many people are suggesting games are master classes after they see the data. You know?
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, honestly, like if you think about like the game was in soft launch for 7 years, like remade from like it was apparently originally something very different.
When the game first launched, I checked it out. It to me did not have the characteristics of a number $1 billion game at that time. I've seen all the LinkedIn guys piling on about how it's great. So maybe it's improved a lot. But by the data, and basically the data.ai data that I shows about from, kind of life of product to date today, about 700 million.
You can't have a bad game to make like this
for
type of money.
For sure. For sure. But is it number one? Is it the best? Like, we'll see. Okay, so 700 million in worldwide net revenue since launch, meaning $1 billion in gross revenue.
Yeah.
And for downloads, I'm showing roughly 95 million in cumulative downloads, life of product to date. And Matej, I know you've got some Sensor Tower data.
Yeah, I saw 101 million to this date.
Okay, so same ballpark. And what about revenues? Is Sensor Tower showing roughly the same?
So I think Sensor Tower is showing this like 870 million. Yeah, 870 million.
Okay, so I think data.ai has them a little bit lower. What about on the social PETA side?
Well, I got to say on our 1 minute.
It should be like somewhere very close to what we see as well.
Pretty close to Sensor Towers. Let me double. Pretty close to Sensor Towers data and.
Nice. Yeah, so it's. I mean, honestly, the truth will be somewhere either in the middle of what you see, JK, and what we see, like the data versus Sensor Tower. I mean, I've seen. So for smaller games, like we call it sadness multiplier because we have to just multiply the revenue by 2 or 1.5. But this because like there's not that much not that much data. But here it's like you have shit ton of installs and revenues as well coming through, so it can be pretty accurate. So I don't think like we need to like multiply.
Maybe in terms of geographical concentration from data.ai, I'm showing like revenue in the US. Huge concentration, over 10x of the revenue from US relative to other countries, but other top countries would be like UK, France, Canada, Germany.
Yeah, pretty much.
Is that consistent?
Yeah,
Summer?
That's pretty much
social PETA?
From like our data vaults, database, their like marketing efforts is a little bit from these geos. Yeah, definitely US runs the top.
US focus, right?
Focus. But speaking of the second and third, it's like in New Zealand, Australia, also UK. Yeah, the top one.
What about RPD? What are you guys showing on an RPD basis? And maybe that's like one way we can compare economics is RPD for our audience, revenue per download. Ideally, you want like an ARPU number, a DX ARPU number, but just roughly speaking, in terms of what we can get from data services, RPD is a good enough proxy, but like Matej, do you have RPD data for like Monopoly Go relative to, I would say the top games that we should be comparing this to would be Coin Master and the game that they've been in a death match against, Royal Match.
Yeah, so if I look at like RPD, Coin Master is like 10 point, and this is just average, I would say. I can do just US only. Okay, so Monopoly Go in US RPD is like 19. Royal Match is 20.7.
Okay, so similar.
Coin Master is 24.
Okay.
Basically. So it's not that
so
bad.
It's pretty good.
It's quite close. Yeah, quite close.
What about
but you know, like if this
did you check Royal Match?
Royal Match is 20.7.
Okay, yeah.
So Coin Master is the best, then we have Royal Match, and then we have Monopoly Go.
Okay.
But like if you think about it, like if this is profitable, like from whatever point of view, you need to have CPIs lower than this, basically, which I find very hard to believe. Hard to believe.
The other thing too, though, is that Monopoly, because it's licensed, it's a licensed IP.
Yeah.
My guess would be like call it 20%, right? So it's going to have to monetize.
Yeah.
An additional 20%.
An additional 20%. Yeah. Exactly. Okay. Yeah, well, but that's the thing, like, and that's, I think, like what we all kind of like talk about in the profitability is like, well, what is kind of in this equation CPI versus the LTV? Do you count only marketing versus revenue? Well, not really in this case, because, well, in that case, you could be just looking at spend versus gross revenue because, well, it's gross revenue, right? So I don't care. It's like it's multiple layers.
From a social PETA perspective, do you guys have any like RPD data or whatever your variation of RPD would be?
Yeah. We have ARPU. We have ARPU, and from our like dashboards in like recent 90 days, the average one for iOS we see is around 12 US dollar, and for Android it's 4.30 US dollar for ARPU.
For Monopoly Go? Do you have any? Are you able to pull up like Royal Match and Coin Master and compare?
No, really. Just
okay. Sorry. Okay.
We can we can add it up into the description afterwards.
Sure.
Nice.
Okay, so we've talked kind of the context, aftermath data. The fourth thing we're going to talk about is marketing. So Summer, maybe I can hand it over to you. Can you kind of show us? So what are these guys doing? What are they spending all these millions and millions of dollars on in terms of marketing? What do their creatives look like, and where are they spending their money? What channels?
Well, yeah, good question. And let me open the file.
Nice.
So, okay, cool.
You have visuals. Amazing. I
do prepare some, interesting
videos. Yeah.
Great.
Perfect.
Yeah.
We see all of it. Amazing.
Yeah. First of all, we always start with, the overall insights, overall figures, and it's officially launched in April last year. But we can see that in our dashboard, we can see like in the red paragraph by us.
Summer, what are you sharing? I'm only seeing the initial screen. Can you share the specific screen?
Yeah, nice.
Okay,
no, it's fine. No.
Okay, there you go. There you go.
Yes.
I shouldn't. Okay.
All good.
Cool.
Yeah, we see it.
Yeah.
Yes. Good,
so
good.
We just talk about the geos and the top countries. We see in our dashboard that, like I mentioned, the top one definitely like US, but also it followed in like Australia, New Zealand, and also Canada, UK, and even though it's just officially launched in April, we can see that they start to like soft launch, or we call it like pre-registration from the very beginning, from January last year, because you can check it from the red paragraph. And they run campaigns mostly top media, social media, like
Yeah.
Google AdMob ranks first, and then Meta series, and also like on Aaron Sauce, YouTube, and Up11. Yeah, those are like the top platforms they ever used. We can also see from like the total figure in last year in total they run almost 30,000 ad creatives in total, and
Yeah.
yeah,
I saw that, like, the ridiculous high number.
yeah, and also you can see they need to manufacture almost half of the creative each month. Yeah, half of the creative they are active in each month are new, fresh ad creatives. Like lots of videos, we can see it in like the second slide. Yeah.
And
Then-
just to compare Royal Match, I think Royal Match has like 4,000 creatives per month, or per platform as well. So it's like 8,000 something. So
Yeah.
if you look at like a number of creatives per like iOS, I think like the Royal Match is top one, and then we have like some other games. So it's a beast as well.
Yeah, and well, also they have I think they did of lots of campaign around like August last year and September last year. Yeah, that was a peak.
Yeah, someone also said that they kind of scaled. He heard they scaled down in October. It looks like that on downloads and revenues. Well, on revenues not, but downloads yes. But then they started scaling up again, like end of last year, and now you see like it's kind of blowing up. Maybe because they saw like how CoinMaster went from 100,000 daily installs to 400,000 daily installs, and like okay, so now it's on. The game is on, guys. Yeah, it's really good to watch.
Is this like that Kim Kardashian versus AppLovin battle?
100%.
Back in the day.
Yeah,
100%.
yeah. It's everywhere.
So it's on. Yeah. Okay. So, sorry, Summer.
No, that's okay. But personally, I think their video about Kim Kardashian, all the family one, is pretty funny, and yes, also we see they have like I mentioned, like a video creative dominates, and then also they play picture, Carson and playable ads, and we can also check the top or the popular formats and dimensions for picture and video. Yeah. And here are some specific cases. The first one is on YouTube. Let me play it.
Yeah. Nice.
What's your plan? Monopoly Go.
Yes.
It's
okay.
like a classic board game, but different. Different how? Well, first of all, it's free to download in the App Store and on Google Play. Then you can go online with friends, and cities around the world and beyond. Tokens and streets and houses and tokens. Yeah. Thanks, honey.
Easy.
You always work. It's
oh my god. I
can't believe that's a winning creative.
Yeah, it's like, it makes sense. It makes sense on YouTube. It makes sense on YouTube, but it's like there's like so many different like better looking creatives that are more polished. Like, oh my god. But I'm not surprised that much, because it's the classic CoinMaster kind of like revenge type of creative, which definitely works.
You're right. I also have another revenge one, but I choose this one because you're right. It's very classical. It's very like a stereotype, and but in our system we see it's been active for quite a long time on YouTube, and another reason is like for real people acting and have the revenge one is. Yeah, it's like the trend in recent years.
Yeah, especially for this genre.
Yeah. And then the second one, this one is we call it like a UGC, and the reason I picked this one is because I saw like the CPI on our dashboard for this specific creative, and I think it's.
Let's be clear here, though, Summer. When you say $1.50 in CPI, you're talking at low volume, right?
Yeah, you're
Okay,
right.
yeah, that's like wait a second, because you have 4 million impressions, and we don't see like for how long this actually ran. So it's like, yeah, it's not. I wouldn't say like it's very high spent.
Yeah. Let's take a look.
So if you like Clash of Monopoly, you're going to love this. It's Monopoly on your phone. Now, whose rent money will I take today? Aha! Time to pay up, my friend. But to really win, you've got to level up your game strategy. Because each player has a board, right? London, Tokyo, Venice. So you steal money from your friends to build your own board and land on the railroads to get theirs. You can make even more money by completing sticker collections. Swap with your friends if you need to. Play Monopoly Go for free and challenge your friends to the ultimate feud.
Yeah. So when recently like lots of like advertisers, they choose TikTok to play to run campaigns, then we found that like this vertical video is like the trend. So you can see this can involve some KOL inspiring people to play the game, and also like the vertical one, gameplay scene plus the KOL. Yeah.
For the audience, KOL is key opinion leader in our terms, an influencer or UGC creative.
Yeah. Thanks for like.
Yeah, I had to learn this as well in the past.
Yeah.
Well, this one is also from my point of view, it's normal, but maybe I think because like Monopoly has its own IP. And
so we had this like a game where we spent like 150K per day, and we had like every week a few new playable ads just to rotate them in the campaigns, because that's what you need basically to maintain the scale and the KPIs you want to see.
And Summer, did you have another? Look, I'm kind of looking at your screen. Was there another?
No,
slide?
that's
okay, just more about social PETA. Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, that's all of it.
Cool.
Nice. Thanks.
All right. Well, yeah. Thanks for that, Summer. And so now the fifth part of what we want to talk about is profitability. And so this is a part where I really want people to understand that there's so many like discussions and emotions and this and that around basically arguing about different things, apples and oranges. And this is the tricky part about the mobile games business and the free-to-play model, because it's hard to define quote unquote profitability. And we've had a problem in our industry where there were many so-called profitable games during the era of ZERP and the age of highly optimistic UA, spreadsheeting, where we'd call profitability for games that were not truly profitable in the most basic sense that we think is in like a layman's sense. And we've had situations where, depending on who you believe, where there may have been like let's take the Glue acquisition by EA, and all of a sudden UA drops. Why? Weren't those games profitable? Maybe not. But like, I think the basic sense that most people would think about profitability is, if I spend $10 to gain a user, does that user pay me back over $10 on average? Or over 10. Yeah, because you got to pay your fixed costs and whatever. Or does my highly optimistic UA spreadsheet suggest that over a long payback period, we will hopefully get $10 back? And I do want to be very clear here. Let's just be honest. In the past, in our industry, many declarations of profitability for games have largely been more theoretical than actual. That's just a fact. And that's not to suggest that Monopoly Go is not profitable, however you want to define that. But what I want to do is to kind of explain some of the nuances to this word, because there are so many people Are you hearing Scopely? PMs. There are many nuances to this word, and what many people
I
in the game.
I have few friends
Yeah.
at Scopely,
Mhm.
but I think I can call them former friends now.
Yes, there's a lot of nuances to this word, and it's just shocking to me how people just don't understand, right? And it's just so there's so much conflation and just ignorance and naivety. But like let's take, like, for example, one thing I like to explain is sometimes people are talking about not about, like the basic layman's understanding of profitability, but operational profitability, meaning that the game makes more revenue than operating costs, but may not include other costs, such as contribution to your fixed costs, like your rent, your utilities, things like that, recovering development costs.
Yeah, if a game it's like it's soft launch for 7 years, like how many people worked on that game? Where are they
Right.
based? Like are they based in US office or
Yeah.
is like in Barcelona office? Like that makes a lot of difference, like in terms of the additional cost. Obviously,
Right.
20,
Right.
50 million here and there when the game makes $1 billion, of course it's peanuts, right?
Right.
But
Right.
still,
And
it's still there. It's still there.
Right. You might have a central team. Are you paying for your contribution to central? The other big issue that CoinMaster and Royal Match don't have is these licensing and royalty costs. Licensor Hasbro for Monopoly, I would guess it's probably something like 20%. Again, I'm just guessing here, but you've got those costs. You've got an MG you probably need to pay back, things like that. And so this is very, this could be very difficult. I remember,
just to be fair to the licensing fee, like if they take 20%, I mean the IP kind of works also in favor for the game because they have definitely lower CPIs than CoinMaster
and it
Royal
could get
Match.
it could get you organics and things like
Yes,
that too.
organics
So
as well. Yes,
that's
so
not.
it's
Yeah,
yeah.
I'm not saying licensing IP is bad. I'm not saying it's a bad strategy.
You
But
just need to count with that 20%, which
yeah.
with
Well,
1 billion is quite a lot of money.
I'll give you an example of why I don't engage in these discussions anymore, because like I was part of a private Slack group and there was like this flame war about Marvel Strike Force, and I was like, dude, I don't think the game's profitable. And so I got into it with this guy, and all I have to say is just like in the end, I'm like, okay, dude, are you including the royalty costs? When you say profitable, are you including the royalty cost to Marvel? He's like, no. I'm like, then shut the F up.
Yeah,
you know
yeah. Come on, like...
So there's that. So there's just like this notion of operational profitability or not. And I think the other definition of profitability I want to talk about is UA modeled payback profitability. But before we get there, just want to, for our audience, explain this notion of payback. So because we are in a free-to-play monetization model, payment occurs on an unscheduled, oftentimes unpredictable basis. And so, when we acquire a user, that player may pay on day 1, on day 30, whenever, we don't know. Yeah. But this is the notion of payback, is when on average are we gonna, for that CPI that was paid that Summer suggested, if we spend $20 for a player, when do we on average get that back, right? And then there's all these other nuances in terms of like depending on the cohort and the UA channel, things like that. But there's that.
But also there's like the genre kind of LTV curves, and the payback periods, which are kind of like common for, let's say, match-free games. So Royal Match, most probably anything between 1 to 2 years. CoinMaster and Social Casino also 2 years, maybe 1 to 2 years. 1 is quite aggressive, but then like 2 years kind of makes it more reasonable because that's how it works. I mean, the retention is really high, and then like the hooked players are kind of paying afterwards, not on in the short term, but long term. Like that's how it works.
Yeah, and if you're generally going for scale and trying to become the biggest player, and like if you're being acquired by the Saudis, obviously they have unlimited money, you likely are going to go aggressive on the payback. And so the problem there though is that we have models. So like we do have models based on historical data and averages and hence profitability. In this context, when we talk about modeled payback profitability, it's based on a model for how much a game will recover in a way that it's not based on science, guys. It's based on a model built by a human being with judgment involved. And as with all models and anything that any human being has ever put into Excel, these models can be easily manipulated. And there's a lot of tricks and things. And I don't want to go into all the nuance. I don't want to bore everyone.
No.
We can go into maybe some of this stuff in a blog post or something,
Yeah.
Matej, but like
we can do that.
The thing is like you've got like operational profitability, you've got a bunch of costs which you may or may not include, and there's all of that. You've got this UA model payback profitability. On top of all this stuff, from a financial reporting perspective, you've got things like adjusted EBITDA, which I don't want to go into, but you can window dress through measures like adjusted EBITDA, which, if you're a follower of guys like Charlie Munger or really respected investors, they don't like, because just understanding the true economics of a game is my point being, there's a nuance here. And so when people are naively say, oh, of course the game's profitable, it's like, what do you mean? How do you define profitability? It's like, no, the game's profitable. Well, what do you fucking mean, right? It's like, what is your definition? Then this is the kind of stuff that's when I usually just try to like do my ninja smoke bomb and like disappear from the conversation.
But then
because it's just a waste of time.
Then I always bring you back from disappearing. Like, oh well, let's talk about this.
So the trick is like, what is your definition of profitable? And look, I've just given a very high level kind of overview on this stuff. There's a lot more nuance in the weeds, in the details, and there's a lot more tricks and things like that we could potentially go over.
There's so many tricks in terms of like accounting and like adjusting, and so you can kind of look profitable. And I'm not suggesting anything. It's just like there are so many things you can do.
But so many times we are often comparing again, back to the point. It's all like, all I'm seeing, all the stupid discussions on LinkedIn, all the Slack flame wars, it's generally apples and oranges that we're discussing.
Pretty much.
So coming to the close here, getting ready to wrap this up. Now that we've talked about some of this nuance, we've kind of shown you guys some of the marketing stuff that's been happening. We've kind of discussed kind of the context of why we're not casting stones. We're just like asking a question about, is this game Monopoly Go, is it profitable? Maybe not, right? It's an open question. Scopely PMs, please learn basic game economics, please. And so that takes us to our conclusion here. What are our takes on Monopoly Go? What do you think, Matej? So, is this game profitable?
So profitable at some point in the future, definitely yes, or at some like day. So I have also like this. I mentioned this former employee, she or he or whoever that is. Also mentioned this fun backstory when she or he had like a talk with some of the like Monopoly Go or like employees of Scopely, that they said like the campaigns are profitable between like 15 to 45 days, which is again like very, very hard to believe, because honestly, if I have this game with this amount of money,
but here's what, when people say that, they talk about one cohort in one territory, you know what I'm saying? But it's like, okay, across everything, really?
Yeah.
Is that your blended worldwide average, or you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, because like, like to me, this seems like ridiculous. Honestly, if this is the case for all the campaigns, or let's say for US, like, why don't you just put all the Saudi money into all the channels and buy all the fucking TV inventory in the whole US? Like, let's just go Machine Zone, Arnold Schwarzenegger, looking like jumping out of the fridges and everywhere. Just like, why don't you do that? I mean, they've ran like a TV in US at the launch. Obviously, we don't see these costs anywhere, which obviously it's not very cheap in US and running this, but I believe like the PLTV and the P ROAS or the projected ROAS is 100% at some point in time. So if I have to be very, very, very adventurous, I would say it's profitable somewhere between 180 and 365 days. And by all means, the UA and the creative work is just outstanding. The game is great and makes shit ton of money, right? But if it's so profitable on all fronts, like why don't you spend more money? And why don't just scale even more? I mean, 300,000 installs per day. CoinMaster can get 400,000 per day, so I'm pretty sure you can get even more. So like, yeah, if it's so profitable, just go and just spend it all. Spend it all. But anyway, yeah, that's my rant at the end. It's
Summer, from a social media perspective, are you able to take a stance on this?
Well, sure. Well, the easiest way to tell whether they are profitable or not, to be frank, is whether we continuously to see so much ads and the curve of their campaigns. Because at certain points, they definitely request it needs to be profitable. But if they are not, they will cut down the efforts of campaign.
Well, but the Saudis say they're going to spend another 30 billion investing in games,
Oh
and
my God.
they say they want to be number one. So I think you got a long ways to go before you run out of cash.
Well, when you talked about like how they draw up like the data in Excel, whether they are profitable and when they will be profitable, in like Asian game studios or even with the big game publishers, if they have this kind of modules, and they will have this kind of request for the marketing leader. Once they comparing like their ROI within maybe the third or the fourth month after all the big scale up, all the campaign, the figure didn't meet the benchmark of the historical data. They will think about to call it off, because for certain studios we cooperate or the publishers like Elex, for example, they have been success on Clash of Kings, and then they may have other projects which are also for SLG games, but maybe different theme. They have the successful models, successful historical data, so it's easier for them to judge whether to continue or not. And you mentioned like 1 year or 2 years for Asian studios. They are not that patient. They are not that patient.
Yeah.
Maybe Monopoly Go can be a very long term and a classical one, and but the environment in different culture might be different. As far as I know, say only the games like Genshin Impact, they can nurture and manufacture it so well,
Right.
and wait for a long time to do the campaign. Yeah. So also one reason is they have another very successful games can raise all the game employees. So this is how they work.
Nice.
Yeah. I think
what do you think? What do you think?
Yeah. So my own take on this is that I personally believe Monopoly Go is successful. Okay. Now, I'm not saying profitable, but I am saying successful, especially if it's like in successful, meaning like it serves the purpose of what they're trying to do. Like they want to be a number one player in games, and they want to, they want to be a major player. And so as a vehicle to enable them to be number one in the charts and things like that, if you ask me if the game is successful, absolutely successful.
Phenomenal. Yeah.
Absolutely top line growth. I mean, it serves that purpose. Now, if you ask me if the game's profitable, I'm going to have to ask you to define what is your definition of profitable first. And like I said, when the game first came out, I cannot say that is a game whose economics I would prefer over other, like 100% for me. You give me Candy Crush, Royal Match, Coin Master, I would rather have those games 100%. Absolutely no question. I haven't played the game recently, but during the initial launch, there's no question to me what the better game is from an economic perspective, in my opinion. This is my opinion, right? Now, one of the other things, though, that to Matej's point, one of the great things about these kinds of games, whether it's 4X or like a Coin Master type of game or Clash Royale or like a Genshin Impact, is that these ARPU curves continue to go up and to the right. That's great for longer term. Essentially what Matej's talking about is your eventual ROAS recapture at some point in time.
Yeah.
And so if you have games that have that kind of characteristics, then you've got some margin for error in terms of, we kind of fucked up. Yeah, we didn't, we were hoping for an 18-month payback. That ARPU curve just keeps going, okay, 24 months,
eventually,
36 months. Okay.
Eventually it's going to
hopefully,
go.
Hopefully. And if you're the Saudis with an infinite bankroll, does that time frame matter to you? No. It matters to cash-strapped startups who need to like make payroll, but it doesn't matter to them. And so again, success, yes. Profitable, I don't know.
Yeah.
So I also agree with actually one other thing too that we didn't discuss is like the other way that they may be reducing costs on the UA side is like they do have a lot of remnant ad inventory. They've got these games like Stumble Guys and these other games, and so they could be like reducing their ad costs through remnant. Now,
but
that goes. Go ahead.
If you think about the the audience of Stumble Guys versus Monopoly Go, it's very hard to match the same audience in those two games.
Yeah. True.
They could be cross-promoting.
And then how do you account for that too, right? And then is it profitable? Well, again, we go into this. Yeah.
That's a rabbit hole we could talk about. For
too many rabbit holes. So anyway, all I have to say is like, is the game profitable or not?
Show us the numbers, and we can end the discussion. We can end the discussion.
That's not my point. My point is, I hope people understand the nuances behind what they're talking about a little bit more. Please do your research. Please understand the economics of these kinds of businesses, and before going out and like attacking people and just showing how naive and ignorant you are. Just like learn your shit first and then have an argument. Okay. That's all I really have to say. Cause otherwise, like, you're going to see guys like me. Like if you ever see me tap out of a conversation, it's because I don't want to get involved in this apples and oranges type of thing. And I feel sorry for you, Matej, because I know you've had a lot of blowback and things like that around this.
Come on. Like it's not the first time and definitely not the last time I'm getting this. So all good.
All right.
Yeah. Nice.
So, okay. Well, guys, there you have it. From Gamemakers, 2.5 Gamers, and Social PETA, we have discussed Monopoly Go, the big controversy. Is it profitable? Is it not? Let's have more flame wars.
Yes.
And that's it, guys. Until next time. Thank you,
Cheers.
Summer.
Thank you.
And
thank you.
see y'all later. Bye.
See y'all. Bye-bye.
Bye.